スみたいわ。すごい。すごい綺麗な見渡し見て。風がすごい。日本と似てるんだけど kind of like Japan, but that lake is beautiful.
It's a really beautiful place.
This is a beautiful view.
It's like a pine tree.
And lightning probably hit this tree.
Definitely gonna fall over pretty soon.
Yeah.
That one fell too. how to do it.
You know how to do it.
You gotta know how to do it.
Making a fire, campfire.
Fast he is?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it stays the same temperature year round. We do have some fish in here. They're trout, rainbow speckled and brown trout that native to this area. They are really important to us. Fish are the reason that Limble Caverns was discovered. This place was discovered back in 1822 by fishermen. Those fishermen were just outside where the entranceway is. They noticed that some fish were swimming in and out of a little hole that was going into the mountain. The fishermen were curious about where those fish were going, so they followed them through that little hole and discovered our cavern.
People throw a lot of coins in there, don't they?
Yeah. You can go up to that right there. I'll let everyone catch up to us. So there are 3 levels to these caverns. Right now we're all standing on the middle level, which is considered the main level. Our lower level, unfortunately, has been closed off due to COVID. You have to go through a really narrow section, get very close to each other to get up to that, so we won't see it today. We'll, however, go into one upper level room. We actually have 8 upper level rooms in here. The reason we only go into one of those is because most of them have really thin floors. So a good example of an upper level room we do not go into is right here in front of us. You'll see the floor there is pretty thin. It's only a few inches in depth in some places, so this would not be strong enough to support a whole group of people. All right, we'll move up a little more now. As we do that, I would recommend sticking close to the chain here because there's lots of low rocks coming up to your right side up ahead. Right, avoid those. Try right up here as well.
That's pretty cool.
We'll stop right around here. Let everyone catch up once again.
Uh-oh. What is this? Looks like a butt. No?
No, that's not a bat.
So besides our trout that I mentioned before, we do have some other creatures that live in here. We have centipedes, millipedes, salamanders, cave crickets, crawdads, spiders, and bats. There's 2 species of bats that will hibernate in here. We have the brown bat and the tricolored bat, and they can be in here from October until April, so you guys will not be seeing any bats today. There is a pretty big problem concerning the bats though, and I have to tell everyone about that. That's the white nose syndrome. What that is pretty much thick liquid that flows down. You notice it's pretty green up there. Usually green color that you guys see is due to these lights. Those lights put off heat and cause moss and algae to grow on those rocks a lot of times. So we call this the deserter's fireplace. Has a little bit of history that goes along with it. During the Civil War, there were some soldiers that came down here to hide because they didn't want to fight in that war. When those soldiers came down here, they found a sandbar. Part of it's still in front of us today, but of course it would have been a whole lot bigger back then, so there was much more space for them. It was drying up on the sandbar. They were able to build fires on it to keep themselves warm, cook all their food. We also found a few tools and a cobbler's bench, so we believe they were making some shoes while they were down here, most likely selling them to local people in exchange for food and supplies, just to kind of help them get by while they were hiding. One thing those soldiers never thought about really that eventually got them into some trouble is where the smoke from their fires was going. So smoke from all those fires was going up through little cracks in the ceiling that are called fissures. Smoke made its way through those fissures sort of like a chimney, made it all the way up to the mountaintop, making the mountain look very smoky. Because of that, those soldiers were found out about a year after they started hiding in here, and they ended up being arrested for treason. So that's what happened to those guys, and that's also the only people that we know of that ever lived in Wimble Caverns. So that's all I can really say about that. We'll be heading up to the right over here. It's a pretty wet ramp we're walking up, just watch. So now we're in the tallest room in the caverns. It's about 23 feet tall, and we call it the cathedral room. You can look up above where I'm standing here, and you can see a few stalactites hanging down. Notice they're kind of flat on the bottom. It's because they were broken, and that was back in 1940. We had a really bad flood due to a hurricane, caused the entire caverns to be filled with water. The current that was flowing up at the top in this room was strong enough that it was able to break those stalactites. So that's what happened up there. And then we're going to go down a wet ramp here. Just watch your step as we do that. Once you go down it, you can look ahead and you'll see a couple orange cones with a really dark section behind them. That's where the lower level's at. Like I said before, we closed that section off due to COVID because of how narrow it is, just so you guys kind of know where that's at. But we'll go ahead down here. It's going to be surrounded by a certain type of limestone. You can see it really well right here in front of us. It's this gray rock. This is called shady dolomite. It's known as the mother rock of the caverns because about 85% of the mountain we're in made up of this limestone right here. Then we don't have any precious gemstones in here like gold or diamonds, nothing worth money. There's a semi-precious gemstone I'll show you real quick right here. This is called carnelian or cave onyx. You can see it's translucent and it gets this orange color from iron oxide. We do actually sell some of that up in our gift shop, but nothing we sell up there comes out of Wimble Caverns because this place is state and federally protected, so we're not allowed to remove anything. We've got a group right up here, we're going to pass by them. Stop right about here.
Yeah, that's cool.
So there's two formations I'll talk about right here, two of the oldest and largest formations in here. Right here we have the oldest and largest stalactite. It takes 125 years for just 1 cubic inch to grow at the bottom of these formations, so you can just imagine how old that thing must be. That's the oldest stalactite, like I said, not the oldest formation. The oldest formation is flowstone, and it's right behind me over here. If you can see right over there where I got my light, we call this one Frozen Niagara, because it kind of looks like a frozen waterfall. And by the way, if you're wondering how these formations actually form, it's from all the dripping water. That is just rainwater. It takes about 3 days for it to seep through the mountain and get down here. As that water seeps through the mountain, it picks up lots of minerals and ends up depositing all those minerals on top of the limestone. It takes a really long time.
Cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Look at that thing. It's like an eyeball.
So some of the stuff you'll see in here, try to tell you what it is. Starting with the shelf on your left-hand side here, y'all can see this weird sort of ground beef, cauliflower-looking stuff. That stuff right there is called cave coral. We also have these little pools of water with a really smooth stone around the edges. Those are called drip pools. And the smooth stone that forms around the edge of the drip pools is called rimstone, and rimstone's thought to be perfectly level. You'll also find a few smaller stalactites and stalagmites in here. These two formations eventually will grow together, like right here, and right up here as well. That's called a pillar or a column when that happens. And if you look around on the walls, you notice a few different colors. Any reddish orange color you see in here, just like the carnelian that represents iron oxide. Like I said before, the green is generally going to be algae or moss due to the lights. In rare cases, this can also be copper or zinc. And any white color you see represents calcium. Right down here, we got some darker gray. That's manganese. Then right up there, we don't have a lot of this. This is a lighter blue color for cobalt. And then you'll see some more cave coral on your right side right up here.
Is there any cobalt glass out of that? You know, cobalt glass is right. Dark blue, iridescent, you can barely see through it, just a whole bunch of light.
Yeah, that's probably what they use.
Yeah, that's probably what they're using.
That's probably what they're doing with cobalt.
I did. Look. They're dominant.
I'll bet you this is where the water drains the stream. You gotta grab him. You gotta grab him and throw him in that bucket.
I have to push this button?
Grab the fish and throw it in that bucket.
Whoop! 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 I got it. Okay, you need to help me.
Oh, I can't video and help
Okay,
you.
I'll hold the video. Here. There you go. Whoop! 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 Okay.
Man, this sun just wiggle for a while, don't it? You done?
Trout. Oh.
there. Yeah, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah, I got the worm too.
That's a pretty good one there. That's bigger than most of the ones they've been pulling out today.
Oh, this is big.
Good size.
I don't know how you how'd you found it.
Oh,